way you call in the parking lot in Tucson. Like, are you with me? In the phantom with the roof gone. I pull up like Jimmy Neutron. I can help you get a move on. Like you haul, and I know you like to go slow, but we could go faster. Tell me the password. Slide city, you know what that means. I'm coming up on you quickly. I bring nice things. Slide city, slide. Plenty other man tryna get in the bed, so I'ma get slouched instead. I know it's gonna make you beg. What would I do if I didn't love you, babe? And what would I do if I didn't love you, baby? And what would I do if I didn't love you? Just wanna be the one to give you what you want. I could put you in an Saint Laurent, riding around town with your hair done. I know you like it when I tell you what you want. Give you babe what you tell me what you want. I can tell your friends you don't want that. You like to go slow, but we could go faster. Tell me the password. Slide city, you know what that means. I'm coming up on you quickly. I bring nice things. Slide city, slide. Any other man tryna get in the bed, so I'ma get slouched instead. I know it's gonna make you beg. What would I do if I didn't love you, babe? And what would I do if I didn't love you, babe? And what would I do if I didn't love you?
Hello and welcome back to Podcast with a K. I'm your host, Carla with a K, and you are listening to the 100th episode of the world's favorite podcast with a K. Whether you've been with us since day one in 2019 on WECS 90.1 FM, on YouTube since 2020, or on Twitch since 2021, or at any point in time after that on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Google, wherever it is that you get your podcasts. First and foremost, I would like to say thank you to anyone who has ever been a part of the show, anyone who's ever hung out in the chat, live on air, anyone who's ever called into the radio station when we used to be in a real studio, anyone who's ever been a guest, anyone who's ever sent me a message asking, where's the new episode? And anyone who has ever had to put up with, wait, let me write this down. This would make a great podcast episode. As well as the very first person to ever have said, from the next table over, y'all's conversation is so interesting. Y'all should start a podcast. Thank you so much, because none of this would be possible. The life that I have right now would not be possible, and I wouldn't be sitting here today. I have nothing but joy and appreciation in my heart for anyone that's, like I said, ever been a part of the progress of this show, as well as, you know, anyone who has urged me to keep it going, and anyone who has ever had, you know, any sort of say here, which is a very funny way to say what I'm trying to say. Basically, if you've ever taken an interest in this, if you've ever supported me in any way, shape, or form, if you've ever put me on to one of your friends to be on the show, whatever the case may be, I thank you. This has been one of the most fun, most random things that I've ever done with my life. I talked about it a little bit in the previous episode, but this was, you know, a show started on a whim as a fun thing to do for extra credit when I was in school, and the way that it's taken shape and the way that it's shaped me as a person and my life as a whole is crazy. All of the jobs that I have right now, every single one of my contracts, I got because somebody liked what I had to say on the podcast. Somebody liked how I interacted with somebody else. And the podcast wouldn't exist without any of you. And Matthew in the chat has kind of hit the nail on the head. W Grammys take is so right, because we will be talking about the Grammys, of course. As much as I would love for this to be just a celebratory little podcast moment, we also got to talk about the things happening in the world. And recently the things happening in the world are the Grammys. So stick around. Thank you so much, by the way. And we'll get into the real, meat and potatoes of the show. But yes, it's been 7 years of the podcast. I thought it was less than that, but like I said, the show started in 2019, and I guess maybe in part that's just I don't have any concept of what day it is ever. However, a secondary element of that is just that it's true what they say. Whenever you do what you love, you don't work a day in your life. And that's how this feels. The podcast has been through a lot. The podcast has been through some of the craziest times in modern history, and all of it happened on air. You guys have gotten to see my formative years take place as an adult, right? And you've also been able to see the opinions and the things that have happened in the world through this show, which is kind of crazy to think about just in general. And then after the fact, having to deal with it. Before the podcast existed as podcast with a K, like properly as an entity, whenever we got sent home, the show was called Sunday Night Live. And then Quarantine with a K, which then turned into Sunday Night Live, so as to not age that era of the show. And it actually was through that time that I think the podcast turned into what it is now. And it was kind of through that time frame that I learned to do this by myself, because I never wanted to be the person talking to a camera. I never had to be. Even whenever people requested that there be a live video feed in the studio, it was always with somebody else, right? Like everything that I've ever done as a public figure, for lack of better phrasing, has been with a friend or with a group or with a squad. And so the eventual transition of the podcast going from, conversations every week to interviews every week to nothing at all was kind of interesting and kind of daunting, and I didn't really know what to do with it. But now that we have it, I feel like we've fallen into a really nice sort of flow here where we can do a little bit of everything. So, we'll go from interviewing some of my favorite musicians to having conversations with old friends about nonsense. Like the episode that I think was the most fun recently was the one that we did with hot takes and unsolicited advice with one of the homies from before, who had been with the podcast from the start, who hit me up randomly and was just like, yo, you know what you should do on the show? And I was like, no, tell me. And we did it. We did exactly that, and it got everyone engaged and excited, and it was very fun. And I through that got to reconnect with two of my favorite people. And that's also a really cool thing, and something I've been reflecting upon recently, right? Like, I feel like the thing that I have found the most interesting about being an adult in the world is seeing how different people trust enough to have these sort of like deep conversations that you can have in an hour-long podcast. It's the same kind of feeling, I guess, as like whenever you're at the hair salon, right? It's someone who doesn't know anything about your life. It's an objective third party, but you're in a close, intimate scenario in which you're trusting them with one thing, in that case your hair, in this case your public image, I guess, and you're able to open up and be vulnerable in a way that I don't think you could in a normal conversation. And I guess in part it's like the commitment to sitting down and talking to somebody for an hour, and through that you eventually you run out of things to talk about as far as pleasantries go, and then you have to get into the real stuff. And that's something I've really, really loved about podcasting, is getting to do that with people who I'm either already friends with, people who I've been put in contact with, and people who I'll never speak to again. And it's cool because for that hour, it's the conversation that matters the most, And I think that maybe in part with that in mind is something that I've been thinking about as well, in which you kind of learn to make, and this will be an episode in the future. I want to put this together more eloquently, but you kind of learn to make like flash connections, right? Like I've called this in my head the concept of a summer camp friendship, right? Like you're in a conversation with somebody in a short period of time in a very isolated aspect of your life, but for that time, that is your ride or die, right? Like that is the person you go to. And it's funny because some people do survive beyond that era. Like I reached out to everyone who's ever been on the show before, and I asked, I was like, send me a minute reflection or a minute of advice or just like an update on where you are in life. And if you don't want to say anything, you just want to be a part of it, you can just like, you know, say a congratulatory little blip for the podcast, just so we can have your voice on it. And I got to get back in contact with some people who I hadn't spoken to since their podcast episode, people who I thought I'd never speak to again. And I even got clips from some of those people who I talk to every day, but I just didn't think that they would participate. And I got some sound bites, of course, from people who I knew would do me the solid. I put together a little compilation of everyone's reflections. But before we do that, I did want to take a little quick song break and feature a song that was sent in by a previous podcast guest, Ewan, which you all know Ewan. He's done a couple of episodes. We talked about elevators one time. We talked about his first experience in America because he's British the second time. And he sent in a song called 17 Again by Jamie McIntyre, which kind of follows a trend. Last episode, I shared a song with y'all called 29 by Brooke Alex, which is personally significant because I'll be 29 this year. And 17 Again kind of fits that same feeling of like, I feel like I'm doing the best that I have ever been, but I also feel like I'm running out of time. And I don't know if everyone else feels the same way or not, because this is what it looks like. And that's kind of the theme of this song, as was with that song. So let's take a song break. Let's listen to that, and then I'll share with y'all what everyone had to say. So here, without further ado, is that.
Magic floats into the room. You got me and I got you, and I should think we're slowing down. My mind wants to escape this town, but I can't leave, it's far too soon. Anxiety's gone through the roof. My friends have moved away somehow. I'm the last one left, I'm crashing out. The bar is closed as the night reaches an end. I'd rather be at home in my own bed. Time has now crept up on me. I'm drinking like I'm 17. The birds are chirping down on me. Say, wake up man, you're 23. I'm paranoia off my head while everyone smiles ahead now. Life is catching up on me. I wish that I was 17 again. Myself that I got time, sipping on some cheap red wine. I don't know where I'm going, the storm keeps on blowing. Wish I had my younger days to warn myself of my new ways, stop future tears from flowing. And there's no way of knowing. The bar is closed as the night reaches an end. I'd rather be at home in my own bed. Oh, time has now crept up on me. I'm drinking like I'm 17. The birds are chirping down on me. Say, wake up man, you're 23. I'm paranoia off my head while everyone smiles at me now. Life is catching up on me. I wish that I was 17 again. Now crept up on me. I'm drinking like I'm 17. The birds are chirping down on me, say, wake up man, you're 23. I'm paranoia off my head while everyone is miles ahead now. Life is catching up on me. I wish that I was 17 again. Time has now crept up on me. I'm drinking like I'm 17. The birds are chirping down on me, say, wake up man, you're 23. I'm paranoia off my head while everyone smiles ahead now. Life is catching up on me. I wish that I was 17 again. Wish that I was 17 again. Life has now crept up on me. I wish that I was 17 again.
That was 17 Again by Jamie McIntyre. You're listening to Podcast with a K, and I'm your host, Carla with a K. Whether you're on Twitch, YouTube, Spotify, or other listening platforms, or WECS 90.1 FM, welcome back to the 100th episode of the podcast. It has been quite a wild ride, and that song, personally, was sent in by a previous guest, Ewan, who you are actually about to hear from. As life goes, a lot of the guests that have been featured on the show are people I consider to be close personal friends. Others are simply those that I look upon with admiration from afar. But whatever the case may be, it is always an absolute pleasure to hear from them. And so that you can have that same little burst of happiness, I actually asked them all to send in a little clip, whether it's for me or for you, my dear listeners. So without further ado, let's hear what my favorite people in the world had to say, shall we? And now, a word from our previous guests. Starting off with Elevator Fanatic and Yorkshire Tea Wannabe Ambassador.
100 episodes of the podcast. Mental. Quite a bit's happened since my last one, though. In 2 weeks from today, I'm moving country. I'm moving from my little island village in the north of England to The Hague, the Netherlands. So I'm going from somewhere where I know every man, dog, farmer, sheep, cat, horse, to a place where I know when I'm full of people. Same job, just different people. And a bloody lot more of them. And it's definitely going to be an adventure, but it's definitely given me an insight. You have to give something a go. You have to change, you have to expand. You can't sit there and dwell in the same situation forever, because it'll never change. And the worst thing you could do is in 10 years look back and think, what if? What if I did that? What if I did go and do that? So, if anyone wants some advice, get out there. Do it. Do something different. It don't matter what. It could be small, it could be big. Drive from one coast to the other. Go to another country. Apply for that job. Go to that place. Go to that big lake. Something like that. It don't have to be all massive, but get out there. Do something.
Following this up with the man, the myth, the mustache legend, the truffle gouda, Zachary Charles.
My, happy 2026. It has been quite a journey over the last few years, particularly this last year for me. I went from one chapter in my 10-year music career, ending a long-standing project, into a solo project, and it has been one of the most difficult and challenging years of my life, one of the scariest things. And that's what I've been working on, and I think is probably a good, healthy reminder for everybody. That's where everybody should be, finding ways to be excited to wake up and do those things that are not necessarily the most fun, or do those things that are the most challenging or uncomfortable for you in a way that allows those things to add to your life. It's a very good exercise, the uphill walks every day, you know, the legs of the soul, you know, good core workout for the spirit. So, positivity, the most cliche thing to say, but it's the most important thing to spend your time in pursuit of, because it's up to you to face all aspects of a circumstance, but when you walk away from it and put it down, what you carry with you should be the positive things that it gave you.
From British-Mexican musician Moy Cohen.
Something I've learned, or rather I'm continuing to learn, is just to be more present, to be in the present moment, to think less and do more, and to stop waiting for the perfect moment to do what you want to do. I think if I had one piece of advice, it would be just to go for it, to do what you want to do and not let anything hold you back.
Hey, what's up? This is DK Lyons, chiming in with my biggest lesson learned in 2025. And I would say that my biggest lesson was that patience and intentionality are the two most important things, to me at least. Definitely a very type A person. I like to solve problems quickly, with intensity. And I realized this past year that that's not always the way to go about doing things, and that, there were certain challenges and certain setbacks I had to face that made me realize I had to be patient and I had to do things more intentionally and not just, immediately react and try to solve problems right off the bat. So it's been an ongoing lesson to learn, not something that's solved overnight, but, really patience and being intentional with everything you do are two of the biggest things that have allowed me to really grow in the last year.
Former muralist Adrienne sent in a message that she didn't think I'd want to feature on the podcast. However, you'll understand quickly why I disagree with that take. Her honest piece of advice is down with the patriarchy, and as a female podcast host in a male-dominated space, despite listenership being 50-50 male and female across the board, I can't help but feel inclined to agree, and doubly so because the duo with the name Podcast with a K had somebody in their audience come to my podcast and try to tell me that I had to change my name, despite mine being first and airing on an actual radio station. You understand my perspective.
Well. Did y'all buy crypto back then, like I told you to? 'Cause you would be rich by now. Just kidding. Hello everyone, this is Tara. I am alive and well. Life has been good. Work has been good. I'm still up here in Connecticut, and we just had the most snow we had in years. I still don't love the snow, but I've learned to accept it. Wishing everyone all the best, and a huge congratulations on 100 episodes, Carla.
Hey Carla, it's JoJo from Eastern. Congrats on the 100th episode of your podcast. I think it's great that you didn't stop after college. My only advice to you is to keep going. Whenever you're passionate about something, you only deny yourself if you don't continue. So I wish you the best.
From our favorite duo, Jess and Vanya.
Hello. Since my last appearance on Podcast with a K, I've learned quite a lot, and my biggest piece of advice would have to be always go after the things that scare you. Some of my best life decisions came from something that I was scared of trying. The class that I was too scared to take led me to an amazing career. Moving away from my family, which at one point seemed like the scariest thing to do, has led me to so many great experiences, memories, and friendships that I don't think I would have been able to do if I did just take that leap and do something that I was scared of.
If I had one piece of advice to give to other people, it would be to step out of your comfort zone. I really feel like that's the best way to grow as a person, and a good way to do that is by doing things alone. I feel like a lot of times we limit our experiences based on other people's availability, and all that really does is just put our own lives on hold. So, if you want to go take yourself out to dinner, go to the movies alone, go to a concert alone, just do it. I feel like you experience a whole new level of peace once you stop relying on other people to feel good, and once you're comfortable in your own presence.
Poet and writer Sam.
Okay, so my piece of advice is honestly to just breathe. I know we take that, it sounds cliche and we take it for granted, but a lot of the times we don't breathe and we forget to actually just take a second for ourselves, and just be kind and be gentle and let everything kind of fall into place wherever it needs to be and figure it out from there. And sometimes we're moving in such a fast-paced world that we forget to do that. So just be kind and gentle to yourself and breathe. Take that second and appreciate where you are in life and how far you've come, because you never know when it could all just go away.
From psychology and philosophy enthusiast Raphael.
Some of the best advice that I've received came from my longtime mentor, Dr. Soltis. I remember she said, "You get from the world what you put into it." And I know that that's not like her original words, and it's a commonly known cliche. But I don't know. When I was young, I heard it, and it resonated deeply with me. And I feel like it's been top of mind in so many things that I've done in my life. And it's been the root of so much of the success or good moments that I've lived. And if I could add anything to it as I've gotten older, it's that you should be mindful about what you choose to put effort into, because the reality is that we are human and limited by our capacity in terms of energy and time and so many other things. And you don't realize that you can't put 100% of your effort into everything. Just physically, it's not possible, not to mention unsustainable. But there are so many things in life that are worth doing well and with all of your heart. And I think just being mindful about what you invest your 100% into is so important to think about.
From conservation biologist and also personally one of my best friends, Monica.
I think one of the biggest pieces of advice I can give is to just say it and do it, because there's not a good place. There's not going to be the perfect place or time or like location, whatever, to do the things that you want to do. You kind of just have to make the time right and just make do with what you have and what your situation is. But waiting for the perfect time to do something, to make that change, to get a new job and things like that is just a little bit unrealistic, because everything is constantly changing. Your life, your goals. So you really just have to kind of go for it and take it from there.
From genius and Star Wars expert Arturo.
Hi, Carla. Congratulations on your 100th episode. It's a huge milestone, and it's a testament to your dedication and perseverance in following your dreams. I think perseverance is how we speak our goals and dreams into existence, and you're basically just doing that, and it's a huge accomplishment. Thank you for having me being part of this journey, and I'm looking forward to 100 more episodes. So I'll be here cheering you on and supporting you all the way through. Congratulations again.
From Sergio, previously interviewed as Vino Verde, currently going under the artist name Midnight Thunderboy as a rapper and songwriter.
One thing I've learned is to never stop learning. You never want to stop being the student. Always keep studying and learning from the works of people who've done it before you that, do it the way you would want to do it. It takes a lot of putting aside your ego and pride to know that you can always improve, and to not be afraid to try new styles or experiment with other ideas. And it's paramount to developing your own signature style and improving and growing as a person and a creative in your whatever field you're in. And yeah, shout out Podcast with a K.
Hey everyone, this is Noor, and it's been a few years since I've been on Podcast with a K. Congratulations on reaching your 100th episode. The biggest piece of life advice that I've learned over the past few years is that life will never go exactly the way that we plan. Not the timing, not the people, not the outcomes. We don't have to look for perfect in this life, and the sooner that we embrace that it won't be perfect, the lighter that life becomes. So I encourage you all to embrace the detours that come along, learn from the setbacks, and let life surprise you. You never know how much you might end up liking something that was never in your plan to begin with.
Videographer Josh Allard offered a piece of advice, which was to always look at the bigger picture and potential, because he's taking gigs that are like $309 at first for someone who had less, to him taking gigs from that same person for up to $2,000. So always think about the bigger play and work up towards that. Don't get discouraged.
Hi, Podcast with a K. This is the one and only Undocupop, and just wanted to say hi and just congratulate you on so many years of podcasting. I remember the last time I was there, I can't believe it was 2019, and we did a deep dive into Bad Bunny and some of my favorite songs, and we were talking about just the state of the music industry at the time, which is kind of crazy to think about. That was 5-6 years ago. Now we're getting ready to watch Bad Bunny at the Super Bowl, which is kind of crazy, but yeah, I just wanted to say hi and, congratulations.
And last but not least, Dylan, crowd favorite, sent in a video because he said he couldn't say this any better than his poppy could.
I will say this, there will come a time in your life where it's easier to do the smaller thing, the petty thing, maybe even the wrong thing, but the much more rewarding experience is to be the bigger person or to be the bigger people and to heal anything that you've ever gone through and enjoy the benefits of a positive, rebuilt, reinforced connection with somebody that I guarantee you have a soft spot for in your heart.
And so that is the sage advice imparted upon us by some of the best people that I think I'll ever meet and I'll ever know. Again, eternally grateful for everyone who sent in a clip, anyone who's ever participated, anyone who's ever chatted alongside with them, because some of those episodes recorded in the radio station, in the studio, and some of those recorded live, like on stream. So you've been part of some of those conversations, so thank you to yourself as well. But please, 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 if nothing else you take away from this, there was a theme in all of their messages, which was to just go for it, to do the thing, whatever it may be, right? Like, sure, there's the aspect of, can you do any or all of it? Who knows? Why not try? And so I did see earlier in the chat from Memer, who I will read this on this recording because, of course, it is also Memer's birthday. So happy birthday, Memer, upon recording this. Good luck, listeners, guessing what day today is. But the best advice or motto that Memer believes in is to jump first and fear later, because we're too focused on the now. So just do it, which is perfect because that mimics the messages from all of our previous guests. I want to take a little song break to transition from this into our next topic, which is the Grammys. And I'm going to hit y'all with a song that is inspired by the same way that this blurb began with Ewan's song of 17, again by, I remember the artist, don't even at me right now, Jamie McIntyre. We're going to transition out of this with Dylan's final message, and we're going to listen to Over by Drake, which is also a perfectly fitting song for this podcast because for some reason that was the anthem for almost everyone that's been on the show. Anytime that we would go out, anytime we wanted to get hype, this was the song. So enjoy.
Young money. Yeah. I know way too many people here right now that I didn't know last year. Who the f*** are y'all? I swear it feels like the last few nights. We've been everywhere and back, but I just can't remember it all. What am I doing? What am I doing? Oh yeah, that's right, I'm doing me. I'm doing me. I'm living life right now, man. And this what I'ma do till it's over. Till it's over, but it's far from over. Alright, bottles on me, long as someone drink it. Never drop the ball. Y'all thinking, making sure the young money ship is never sinking. About to set it all, Jada Pinkett. I shouldn't have drove, tell me how I'm getting home. You too fine to be laying down in bed alone. I could teach you how to speak my language, Rosetta Stone. I swear this life is like the sweetest thing I've ever known. About to go Thriller, Mike Jackson on these. All I need's a fucking red jacket with some zippers. Super good Smith-O, a package of the Swishers. I did it overnight, it couldn't happen any quicker. Y'all know them, well fucking me either. But point the biggest skeptic out, I make them a believer. It wouldn't be the first time I done it, throwing hundreds when I should be throwing ones. Bitch, I run it, I know way too many people here right now that I didn't know last year. Who the f are y'all? I swear it feels like the last few nights. We've been everywhere and back, but I just can't remember it all. What am I doing? What am I doing? Oh yeah, that's right, I'm doing me. I'm doing me. I'm living life right now, man. And this what I'ma do till it's over. Till it's over. But it's far from over.
One thing about music, when it hits you feel no pain. And I swear I got this shit that make these bitches go insane. So they tell me that they love me, I know better than that. It's just game, it's just what comes with the fame. And I'm ready for that, I'm just saying. But I really can't complain, everything is kosher. 2 thumbs up, Eva and Roper. I really can't see the end getting any closer, but I'll probably still be the man when everything is over. So I'm riding through the city with my high beams on. Can you see me? Can you see me? Get your Visine on. Y'all just do not fit the picture, turn your widescreen on. If you thinking I'ma quit before I die, dream on. Man, they treat me like a legend. Am I really this cold? I'm really too young to be feeling this old. It's about time you admit it. Who you kidding, man? Nobody's ever done it like I did it.
I know way too many people here right now that I didn't know last year. Who the f are y'all? I swear it feels like the last few nights. We've been everywhere and back, but I just can't remember it all. What am I doing? What am I doing? Oh yeah, that's right, I'm doing me. I'm doing me. I'm living life right now, man. And this what I'ma do till it's over. Till it's over. But it's far from over. Yeah, that's right, I'm doing me. I'm doing me. I'm living life right now, man. And this what I'ma do till it's over. Till it's over. But it's far from over.
That was Over by Drake, which in the good year of our Lord 2026 feels surreal to play. But you know what? It's fitting for the simple fact that it was, for some reason, a motif of myself and all of the guests at Podcast with a K. I think maybe in part of it, it's that it started off as a radio show at a radio college station. So the concept of, so many new people every year is kind of crazy. But I digress. Let's talk Grammys, shall we? Drake actually caught a stray yesterday. Trevor Noah was his last year hosting the Grammys, and he had the funniest interactions with the people sitting down, whether it's just because he's funny, the people that he talked to is funny. Justin Bieber's interaction was so awkward with him, but you know what? Bieber deserves a break, and that's a conversation for a different episode. But he was speaking to Kendrick Lamar, and he's like, I was gonna roast you, but I've seen what you can do to light-skinned people from foreign countries, referencing, of course, the Drake beef with him. But alas, Grammys happened. Grammys were honestly a concert. The Grammys were a concert this year. That's what they were. It was mostly performers and very few awards actually presented, which is fitting, I think, for the season. I feel like we're kind of tired of seeing the same people win every award, and also they publish the entire list online anyway, so whatever. But I personally liked it better this way because, for example, during the section for the upcoming, the best new artist, they had all of those artists actually perform, which is cool because, every time that they do the upcoming artists, new artists, whatever, performers, people are always like, oh, I don't know her, I don't know him, why would I care about that band, I've never heard of them. So I think it's really smart and really cool for them to showcase those artists and their songs. Usually their biggest song, I guess, is what would be the case, but also who they are as live performers, because I'm not going to pay to see someone in concert if I don't know them. So I thought it was really cool. I believe the winner for that award was Olivia Dean, who I'd never heard of before, but I saw her perform and I loved her voice, I loved her style, her aesthetic. And she, as well as many other artists, used her thank you speech to mention she herself being the granddaughter of an immigrant. And this was a trend that I was kind of surprised by. I feel like the last year or so, they've been kind of trying to crack down on the length of thank you speeches. And in part, my theory was that that's why they didn't do a lot of the actual awards on screen, because they wanted to prevent people talking for ages, whether it's to, read the laundry list of thank yous or to turn it into a platform for a weird agenda sort of speech. And I'm not talking about politics. In that case, I'm specifically referencing whatever Joaquin Phoenix was talking about at the Oscars all those years ago. But I digress. Part 2. I thought it was really interesting to see which artists spoke out, because it was across all genres. Of course, Bad Bunny being there, I have been so pleasantly surprised by his notion to speak out as an activist. But again, it's not necessarily surprising. I tweeted about this, which is my what my reference was to earlier. Matthew came in and said W Grammy takes. I live tweeted the Grammys as a way to track what I was thinking instead of just taking notes, just for the feeling of nostalgia. But I mentioned specifically that I feel like we all have a lot to learn from Bad Bunny, and specifically him and other like-minded Puerto Ricans. This is in no way, shape, or form the most historically factual, accurate way to say this, because that's not who I am as a person, not what this show is. But that would be a cool episode to do, actually. Long story short, the reason that Puerto Ricans are so loud and proud about being Puerto Rican is because there was a time, as is with a lot of colonized peoples, that they were not allowed to fly the flag, speak Spanish, or I guess not Spanish, whatever the indigenous tongue is in Puerto Rico. They were not allowed basically to be openly, loudly and proudly Puerto Rican, legally, prohibited from doing so. And that's why now that, that is completely the opposite case, why I feel like we should take note and listen. There's something to be gained from flying your flag proudly, whether you take that as a political, literal sense or metaphorically, be who you are, be true to you type of way. And it seems like, like I said, artists across the board kind of had that same mentality across all genres. And so I did find a compilation, thanks to whoever uploaded this on YouTube for Access Hollywood, of everything that every artist said, because out of, I don't know, like maybe 10 awards that were presented on TV, like 5 or 6 artists dedicated their speech to this.
No one is illegal on stolen land.
That's Billie Eilish.
Yeah, it's just really hard to know what to say and what to do right now. And I feel really hopeful in this room, and I feel like we just need to keep fighting and speaking up and protesting, and our voices really do matter, and the people matter, and I say sorry.
Eyes out.
Bad Bunny.
We're not savage, we're not animals, we're not aliens, we are humans, and we are Americans.
Immigrants built this country, literally.
Shabuzi.
So this is for them, for all children of immigrants. This is also for those who came to this country in search of better opportunity, to be a part of a nation that promised freedom for all and equal opportunity to everyone willing to work for it. Thank you for bringing your culture, your music, your stories, and your traditions here. You give America color. I love y'all so much. Thank you.
I guess I want to say I'm up here as a granddaughter of an immigrant.
Olivia Dean.
I wouldn't be here. I'm a product of bravery, and I think those people deserve to be celebrated.
Please don't fall into despair.
SZA.
I know that right now is a scary time. I know the algorithms tell us that it's so scary and all is lost. There's been world wars, there's been plagues, and we have gone on. We can go on. We need each other. We need to trust each other and trust ourselves, trust your heart. We're not governed by the government, we're governed by God, and I thank you so much. So God bless you, that's all I want to say.
Of letting it be just a couple few here and there, I hope everybody's inspired to join together as a community of artists and speak out against what's going on. And I'm gonna leave this and say, F ICE.
And Kalani. So, as you can see, a lot of artists across a lot of genres had something to say. And of course, SZA, I specifically wanted to make note of, especially because she, for that speech, was up with Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick Lamar, of course, always uses his platform to, bring light to his community. And he said something in his speech as well, which is something that kind of stuck with me and sticks with me every time he says it. He said that basically, to paraphrase, he's never going to get tired of seeing, you know, someone like him dressed like that on a stage like that type vibes, right? And it's, you know, it's worth mentioning that I'm kind of used to that sort of people speaking out, right? Whereas someone that's representing their own community speaking out for their own issue. Here, what I thought was really cool was that this was spoken about by different artists of different genres, of different backgrounds. At the same time, I was kind of caught off guard by a couple of them, right? Billie Eilish, never. She's very, very vocal about using her platform and about, you know, trying to drive other celebrities with impact to use their platforms for impact, right? Because everyone's always like, oh, well, you're a musician, stay in music. You're a actor, stay in acting, stay out of politics. These people are more than their jobs, which is the point that I try to make every single time that someone wants to talk about my job or my background or my story. I'm more than my story. I'm more than what I do on the day-to-day, right? I'm a person living in a society. And for that very reason, I deserve to have a voice and an opinion. The same way that every single one of these artists does as well, right? Like, just because they do this doesn't mean they can't care about that type vibes. And I was caught off guard specifically by Shabuzi because he kind of grew his brand and made his fame in the country scene. And Jelly Roll also had a part of his speech that I thought was interesting. And I am going to play his clip for you as well. Jelly Roll is also a country artist, and he caught me off guard in a different way, and I'll explain.
I was broken. That's why I wrote this album. I didn't think I had a chance, y'all. There was days that I thought the darkest things. I was a horrible human. There was a moment in my life that all I had was a Bible this big and a radio the same size and a 6x8 foot cell. And I believed that those two things could change my life. I believed that music had the power to change my life and God had the power to change my life. And I want to tell y'all right now, Jesus is for everybody. Jesus is not owned by one political party. Jesus is not owned by no music label. Jesus is Jesus, and anybody can have a relationship with him. I love you, Lord.
So Jelly Roll saying that was interesting to me because he's very publicly stayed out of making any political commentary as much as is possible. And he was actually interviewed here and he was like, I don't want to talk about this, but I'm glad you asked me that so that I can tell you that you shouldn't care what I think. But in an after show interview, he said, you know, y'all are about to get my exact opinion. Y'all are about to hear exactly what I have to say in the most loud and clear way I've ever spoken. And so I'm curious as to which way that's going to go because of what he said about, you know, Jesus is not owned by any political party. And earlier I made note, SZA said, we're not governed by the government, we're governed by God. So you're seeing a lot of crossover here of a lot, like I said, artists of different genres speaking out is one thing that, you know, personally, I listen to all of these genres. I do. I listen to pop as much as I listen to rock and country and rap. And I specifically found it interesting that that was the comment that he made because people do tend to associate religion, in general, any religion, with right-leaning ideologies, where most, if not all religions, teachings don't at all align with the modern values of right-leaning parties. I find this perspective very objectively interesting because, you know, it seems to be a moment of the winds shifting, right? Like you've seen influencers kill brands and change movements and, you know, get people pardoned from life sentences in prison. So we'll see. But I digress. Part 3. It was an interesting Grammys. It was an interesting use of speech time, and one that I'm not one to mince my words. Obviously, it's one that I applaud fully. You know, this is not just like my take and my mentality on the podcast. This seems to be the popular opinion, at least in that room. And you know, it's interesting to see the camera pan to the audience and see who's cheering for what. And I want to see what this does to the country music genre, especially because we've talked before about Zach Bryan, who also in country, wrote a song, but everyone was mad that he even, the song itself is very tame. He just mentions that it's the fading of the red, white, and blue, right? He mentions that you better watch out because they're gonna come get your neighbors. Like, the song itself lyrically is very tame, but people are still mad about the fact that he even voiced a contrary opinion to the general kind of attitude of the genre. And like I said, I mean, I have been pleasantly surprised with how vocal Bad Bunny is, but not surprised in that he is vocal about it at all. He used both of his speeches to drive home his point. He very famously, as we mentioned in a previous episode where we actually mentioned Zach Bryan, we did a little music roundup a few episodes ago. He mentioned that he was very much so, like, we'll listen back to the clip, but he mentioned that he was very much so against everything that's happening, but we have to lead with love. We have to, be that change. But he very famously had his world tour avoid the US, not necessarily out of like a public standpoint, like, oh man, I hate what they're doing, so I'm not going, but also out of worry and concern for the fact that his audience would be targeted, which is true. They would be targeted, which is exactly why I think this is so interesting to see pretty big, Grammy-winning country artists make any sort of statement that seems to deviate from the norm. That's what I'm interested in following. That's what I'm interested in seeing the ripple effect kind of happen from. But in the realm of Grammys, I also wanted to take a personal little time and moment to give my own shout out to the one and only Bad Bunny, which, man, it's so weird for me to be such like a fangirl for Bad Bunny. When he came out, like, he was just some guy, dude. He was like a mumble rapper. But he's the first person to win Album of the Year now for a Spanish speaking album, which is crazy. It's one of those moments that makes you like, I've never been one of those like representation matters. I need to see myself on the screen so I can believe it. I'm the type of person that I believe I can do whatever it is that I want to do because I've always done that. And it's a different kind of feeling though when you see someone that thinks like you, that looks like you, that talks like you, make it into those spaces, right? Because they always tell you, be quiet and play the game, right? Like, very few people get to make it by being loud, and those people have to deal with whatever comes from it, right? Like, as much as, I want to be a little radio rebel and change the world, like, there is a degree of media training that goes into everything that I say publicly, and I say a lot, but it's cool to see someone make it and then continue to use that platform, right? Like, Bad Bunny's playing the Super Bowl, the most aggressively all-American event of the year, being headlined by somebody from Puerto Rico, which, to be fair, man is an American citizen. Puerto Rico is a part of the U.S. Seeing that be announced and seeing the backlash from the other half, that's exactly what I think makes it so good of a statement, because I've seen a lot of cynics be like, I don't think y'all are giving this the credit that it deserves, and then the other half saying, I feel like this doesn't have the impact you think it has. And I'm like, I don't feel like y'all understand how much money goes into these things, right? Like, it's one thing to be me on a podcast with an opinion. It's one thing to be you in the comments with an opinion on a post. It's another thing to see how much money is driven by an event like this, right? Like, if it's one ticket that is sold to a Bad Bunny fan instead of a Super Bowl fan, that's already change, right? And not without saying, but having Green Day play the pre-show is also kind of huge, because Green Day famously has a lot of critical songs specifically about U.S. politics and the government. So I feel like the tides are shifting, and music does carry a lot of weight to it, right? Like, it's not just like the Hollywood elite, and it's not just like the Academy, and it's not just, industry babies. Like, everyone listens to music. This is how you learn the alphabet with a song, right? You learn the states with a song. You learn the preamble to the Constitution with a song. The things that you stand to learn and to gain from this is so much more than you think, right? you got so many people that have so many opinions about so many things, and then nowadays that we have access to everyone else's opinions about so many things, you also have access to who your favorite artists are as people, right? And also in the music scene, you had Bruce Springsteen release a new protest song about Minneapolis. Bruce Springsteen, who of course has the fame for having one of the most misunderstood songs, right, of Born in the USA being a critique against war and people playing it on the 4th of July, right? And I think I've said this so many times before, there's a video, a clip somewhere floating around of actor Misha Collins saying after, I think, the 2016 election, like, of course, like, people are going to be upset, people are going to say things, and people are going to say, we don't like it, then leave. But he ended this video saying it's my country too, and the racists can't have it. And that's exactly what I think the takeaway should be here, right? Like, these are artists who have made it to one of the biggest, if not the biggest, moments of recognition in their career. And they chose to use their voice, their platform, their money, their stage to give out the message that seems to be the most controversial message of all, which is, the government's messing up and ICE is clearly the bad guy here. There's so not any justifying it. But it's one thing to see Kendrick Lamar or Bad Bunny or Billie Eilish say this, right? It's another thing to see Shabuzi and Jelly Roll say that. So I don't know. I hope that the audiences follow suit. I hope that people can regain control of their mind, because clearly a lot of people have lost it. Going to be, of course, watching the Super Bowl exclusively for Bad Bunny. But I digress for the final time of this episode. I want to say thank y'all so much once again for listening. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. Every single one of you, if you've been a guest, if you've been a member in the chat, if you've been a person who has been a friend in my life, every single conversation that I have impacts me and therefore impacts the show. And like I said, it's not nothing, This show isn't just a fun little thing I do once a week on the internet or on the radio. This is everything, my livelihood, everything that I have right now. I have to thank you, because this is what's made all of it possible. This is the diamond, the shining star on my resume of every other multi-hyphenate thing that I've ever chosen to do. So thank you so much for Podcast with a K. I'm your host, Carla with a K, signing off of the 100th episode. You've been listening to either WCS 90.1 FM or whatever platform you get your podcasts on, and I will see you in the next one with new nonsense and maybe new guests. I'm not sure. We'll figure it out. But I have one last song for you, and I feel like it's super fitting given the conversations that we have had, both in the sense that it's a nice song for reminiscing and a song often used for reflection, as well as we started the show with Debí Tirar Más Fotos by Bad Bunny, who will be headlining the Super Bowl. And I feel like it's only fitting that we sign off with Good Riddance by Green Day. So enjoy and have a fantastic week.
Another turning point, a fork stuck in the road. Time grabs you by the wrist, directs you where to go. So make the best of this test and don't ask why. It's not a question but a lesson learned in time. It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life. So take the photographs and still frames in your mind, hanging on a shelf in good health and good time. Tattoos and memories and dead skin on trial. For what it's worth, it was worth all the while. It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life. something unpredictable, but in the end it's right. I hope you had the time of your life. It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life.